Hello and welcome to Huddersfield Town's preview show ahead of today's game against Bristol City. How is everyone? You okay?
Thank you.
Good evening.
I thought I'd start this one, Gregor, Steve, by saying I must be joined by two men with the finest names in local journalism.
Definitely, yeah. We're two of the best on Reach, I think, and it certainly stands out. I think people don't forget the names easily, do they, Gregor?
If I had a Scottish pound for every time somebody has said that to me, then I'd probably have a lot of currency that I can't use. No, I can use it.
Yeah. They are certainly excellent names. And Richard obviously stayed in the hotel. We can see it behind you, but before tonight's game, do you have to sing for the first time?
Yeah, I did. Managed to get out there, and there was quite a few of us actually. So I kept it quite simple. I went for the Stand By Me rendition. Got the crowd involved a little bit as well. So I think it's good. I think it builds that team bond, and I've done a few in my career. So it was nice. It was nice to get out there and get it done.
Fancy yourself as a bit of a singer?
No, listen, like I said to the guys before, I said, like, if you enjoy this song, then you won't enjoy it so much after I've just destroyed it. So, listen, like I say, I think it's good. It's good for the group, and it just gets everyone a bit more relaxed, and like I say, get to see maybe a little bit of a different side to yourself. And I think my wife will probably tell you that I think I can sing. I try and sing, but really I'm not very good.
Is that the one you always go for, or do you mix it up?
To be honest, I have mixed it up a little bit, yeah. I think when I was with Ireland, I had to do it there, and I sang actually the script, Man Who Can't Be Moved.
Oh, wow.
That was, yeah, exactly. It was a tough song choice. I don't know what I was thinking with that one, but I don't know. It was just a song.
What would you sing?
I don't know. I feel like if you go for something that's like Jarvis Cocker's good, I think. So like a pulp song, because he's basically speaking most of the way through it. So like that's a good cop out, I feel like.
Yeah.
They were the lines I was going down. I did Mr. Brightside, but you don't get the crowd involved then. It's a harder sell, isn't it, Richard?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought. I mean, I'm a big fan of Shallow, actually, On A Star Is Born, but I thought, obviously, because I can't sing it that well, I just thought I'd go for one that maybe could get the crowd a bit more involved. So that's why I chose that one.
Gregor, what would be your song of choice?
I think Brightside, as you say, is a solid choice. I'd go for something like that. Bit of a standard one, but nothing too special. My voice is terrible, so nobody wants to hear that at all. So.
Well, we'll move on to tonight's game. Richard, obviously, you've been with us for around about just over a week now. How have you been settling in, first of all? Because you basically had one session, didn't you, and straight into a game. At least now you've had a full week pretty much to prepare.
No, exactly. I think you're right. I think any player would tell you that more time on the grass, obviously, with the manager and the boys, and getting to know just how different people like play, really, and just like to know their movements a little bit better, and obviously get up to speed with a few different concepts that the manager wants. A lot of it, like I said before, is obviously I'm pretty similar with. I've played in similar styles, in previous clubs. So I think that definitely helped me when I'd only had one session with the team, but obviously managed to come in and kind of slot into the team. And I've really enjoyed it. It's been good. I've really enjoyed the training. It's I definitely feel integrated into the group. And like I say, I'm just excited to be here, and and just try and do my best for the team, and see where we go.
We've spoke about it a little bit on the post-match show, but Steve, in terms of having that full week, it could be massive, couldn't it? Just in terms of relationships, because the team's kind of chopped and changed so much this season because of injuries. It would be good for those guys to actually have a full week together on the grass.
Yeah, I think obviously there was the week between the Reading game and the FA Cup game, and then the week between the FA Cup game and the Watford game. But from what Carlos has told us, he only had sort of 4, 5, 6 players who were available for that full 2 weeks. I think it was 4 players, he said, for the full 2 weeks there with the injury crisis. So out of his regular first team, I should say. So that was obviously not ideal. I think we're obviously starting to see more and more players coming back from injury, which is obviously good news. There's still a fair few still sidelined who I think will be a big miss potentially over the next couple of weeks. But as we've said constantly on this previous show, when we were playing sort of 3 games a week, I say we like I was playing them, when it was the 3 game a week schedule every week, there's no replacement for time on the training pitch. And we mentioned to Carlos earlier that when you've got new players coming in and you've got players who maybe haven't played so much, like Alex Vallejo, who's come into the team recently, this is almost like a pre-season, but with games in it. If that's not a contradiction in terms, you've got a lot of new players who you've got to bed in. Obviously, Dwayne Holmes has signed yesterday as well. He could be a big addition to the squad. So there's a lot of work to do to get those relationships built up.
Yeah, and we've spoken. Obviously, we've had a full week, but Gregor, Bristol City will have had 3 days to prepare for this one.
Yeah, there's obviously a bit of a tight turnaround up here, but they've got a sort of fixture list of around 6 or 7 games now, all in a row, especially after they beat Millwall at the weekends with the 5th round game of the FA Cup coming up as well against Sheffield United. So, yes, one of those things you have to deal with in the Championship, isn't it? I'm sure Richard will tell you, just playing Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday. So it's a marathon, isn't it?
What impact do you think that could have, Gregor? Obviously, Carlos said pre-match that Bristol City have had to kind of change the shape. They recalled Casey Palmer because of injuries that they had in certain positions. Having a tight turnaround like this and 2 difficult, important games after each other, what impact could that have?
Well, they probably managed to rest sort of 3 or 4 key players at the weekend. Alfie Mawson was the biggest player. He's just come back from a knee injury, so he's played the last couple of games, but they just felt that maybe this was one step too far for him to play at Millwall in the FA Cup at the weekend. So he was rested for that game, but fully expect him to come back into this one. And there was a couple of other players as well who didn't play in this one. Daniel Bentley, another one. So I do expect 3 or 4, 5 changes, maybe not quite as many as that, 3 or 4 changes. So, yeah, but without doubt, it'll have a little bit of impact maybe later on in the game, maybe that bit of zippiness. But then again, they're playing at home. So pros and cons, I guess. Maybe hopefully it evens itself out a little bit.
Can you use that to your advantage, Richard?
Yeah, listen, I think you guys have touched on it there in the sense of like we've obviously had a good week to prepare, and obviously with Bristol being in the FA Cup. I mean, yeah, listen, we don't really read too much into it. I think we just try and focus on ourselves, and obviously we analyse the opposition. And Bristol have obviously had a good win the weekend, and yeah, so they'll be confident. But like I say, from our point of view, it's about what we can do, what we could have done better. Obviously against Millwall, we're trying to work on how we can attack obviously a little bit better in certain situations. And so yeah, like I say, we try and focus on ourselves, but also mindful of the strengths and weaknesses that the Bristol team will bring us.
Yeah, Steve, Richard's really kind of hit the nail on the head there, isn't it? Because it can work in both ways. Obviously, you can be fitter and fresher after a full week on the grass, but equally, there's nothing like momentum, is there?
Yeah, I knew the word momentum was coming there. Yeah, I think sort of when you look at the numbers, it makes less of a difference than people think. I'm sure that players feel it, particularly when you're coming off a defeat. But it's the kind of thing that if you go and win the game, no one's talking about it afterwards. Everyone's got to deal with fixture pile-ups at various stages of this season, and if you happen to be lucky enough to be the team that's not played at the weekend when the opposition have, then you just have to take that, because sometimes the shoe's on the other foot. So yeah, I'm sure that it's not like Bristol are going to be going out there and got their legs bandaged on and that they're falling over and falling asleep in the middle of the pitch. They're going to be competitive. They're going to put out a good team and put a really tough game on.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're a team, Richard, that you know very well, don't you?
Yeah, listen, I spent 3 great years there, and kind of started my career really, in the sense, obviously I made my league debut there, and managed to obviously get a promotion there from League One. And then obviously, even though I was out on loan in last year, was kind of around the squad, and obviously losing in the playoff final. So listen, I've got great memories there. I met some amazing people I still I've got relationships with now. And obviously my wife's from Bristol, so I'm always going to have a connection. So listen, like I say, it was great times, and it really helped me kind of start my career and manage to get so many games, and it definitely put me on the right path to help me in my career.
Yeah, I was going to say, Richard, do you know anyone still at the club? Am I right thinking that Brian Tinian was one of the managers you played under there?
That's right. Brian brought me to the club, and like I say, I met some amazing people. Scotty Murray, Lewis Carey, obviously David Noble. He's best man at my wedding. We were really close. So yeah, listen, it was like I say, a lot of them guys. We had a great dressing room. We all done a lot of stuff. Obviously off the pitch as well. We socialised together, and went for dinner, went for coffee. So yeah, listen, like I say, it was fantastic time, and so I'm looking forward to seeing Scotty. Obviously now he's the kit man. I've obviously bumped into him a few times, but these guys have done amazing for the football club, and yeah, it's like I say, I'm always going to be have a connection with the club, just because I spent some time there, and and did well there.
It's always the kit men that stick in the memory, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Scotty was obviously a legend for Bristol. The way he played, and the amount of games and goals he scored, and yeah, to be honest, I didn't really see him transition into a kit man, but with his character and just how he was in the dressing room, like he's just a brilliant guy. And if you ever probably wanted a laugh, then go and see that guy, because he'll put a smile on your face. He's always so positive and happy. And yeah, like I say, I'm pleased that he's still connected to the club in some way, because like I say, he knows what it's like for that club. He's been a heartbeat of the club, and yeah, so it's nice for him to still be around it.
Yeah, absolutely. You always find, on the main, Steve, don't you, that the kit men are always spoken really positively about, but they've always got to be certain personalities, haven't they, to keep the lads kind of ticking over almost.
That's it. Yeah, you almost want like a very jovial, gregarious character type who's laughing and joking, and we know that Brookie likes to play jokes, and it's I think obviously at a club you've got to have sort of the the authoritarian figures, and you've got to have the coach has to have a certain level of decorum about him usually, and sort of stay a little bit, keep a little bit of professional distance there. And I think you need sort of that, a bit of sweet to go with that sour. And at some clubs, that's sort of the assistant manager will be, someone will come and put the arm round. Sometimes it's the other way around, and the manager is the one who's the nicer one, and the assistant is the bad cop. But I think most clubs, you find whenever you talk to players, at least, that the kit man is there. He's almost and I say this sort of advisedly, not to do anyone down, almost like the jester of the group. You've got the king and the jester, and it's there to provide a little bit of levity.
Yeah, absolutely. Richard, you mentioned that your wife, you met her in Bristol. Is there family loyalties there? Is there a bit of like family rivalry on the line?
Yeah, potentially a little bit. Yeah, there's a few City fans, a few Rovers fans as well, actually. So even when I was playing for City, probably wasn't my biggest fan. We used to play him, or because I was playing for the rivals. But Yeah, no, like I say, there is some still some City fans from her side of the family. So, but yeah, I think I've won them over the years to support me when I play. So I'm sure they'll be supporting me tomorrow.
Yeah, they absolutely will be, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Gregor, on to modern day now. Obviously, Bristol City sitting in 10th in the Championship, 6 points off the playoffs with a game in hand. How's the season been going from your perspective?
The season started really well. They won the first 4 games and were flying high, and then there was a bit of a patch where they couldn't get a win in 5 games, and actually that was ended when they went to Huddersfield. And actually was talking to Dean Holden about that today, and I think when they look back on this season, that game will actually be quite a pivotal one for him as a new manager this season, with the context being that he'd replaced Lee Johnson and probably wasn't high on the list of what the fans would have wanted or expected when he came in. There was a bit of pressure on him at that time. So actually, when they got the win at Huddersfield, that sort of just helped him along, and they actually went on to beat Cardiff, close rivals, just down the road straight after, and go on a good spell. So yeah, it's been up and down, but they're fairly nicely positioned at the moment.
Yeah, that game, Steve, was an interesting one, wasn't it? I mean, Semenyo came on and changed the game pretty much in the second half, didn't he?
Yeah, completely. Yeah, the substitutions really made a big difference in that game. I think it's weird because the 2 games last year were probably the 2 most extreme, certainly in Town season, the 2 most extreme performances. I thought this fixture last season was quite possibly the worst we saw Town, the 5-2 defeat. And obviously, there was some players who had dropped in the aftermath of that. And then the 2-1 win at the John Smith Stadium, which really should have been about 4-1, was, to my mind, one of Town's best performances last season. And I know Gregor would tell you it was one of Bristol City's worst. So there's actually, I'm just looking now, and there's not been too many draws between these 2 sides. I think there's only been 1 in the last 16 years. So they do seem to tend to go one way or the other. And I think that's kind of indicative of 2 teams that have over the years been very, very streaky and very, very up and down. I think even this season, if you look at I think there's Preston have only drawn 3, same as City, and Town have had 4. So it's 2 of the least drawingest, that's not a word, teams in the division.
You know what you've just done there, Steve, haven't you?
Go on.
Well, we're going to draw now, aren't we?
Oh, yeah, of course. Clear to the commentator, isn't it? 0-0 now, isn't it? All over.
Gregor, obviously you were at the game at the John Smiths. It's easy to say that Semenyo came on to change the game, but Dean Holden has a lot to, or should take a lot of credit from that, shouldn't he? Because he changed the shape a lot in the game, and it almost looked like Huddersfield Town were almost chasing shadows because the change of shape happened. They didn't quite know who they were meant to be marking. Yeah,
absolutely agree. And I thought the first half was fairly even in that game, and obviously, well, maybe Huddersfield had the slightly better chances. You took the lead, but as you say, he had to really go for it. I think the background is what I said before. Sort of, he was under a bit of pressure, really, and had to get a result in that game. So, yeah, he threw on Semenyo, and that's been one of his best performances. And as I say, I think it was a bit of a pivotal result for him. And I just feel a bit sorry, I suppose, for you guys in that I don't suppose you remember the equalising goal where it appeared like he stopped the ball with his hand. And sometimes you get those decisions. It's such fine margins, isn't it? And obviously the referee didn't spot that on the day, and he crosses it in, and Jay De Silva gets the equaliser, and we know the way it went from there.
Yeah, Richard, obviously to today's game, it's been highly documented, especially on this show, how many meetings you guys have before a match. How vigorously and to what extent have you kind of gone through Bristol City and the way they want to play? Because the formation's changed a lot, for example, since we last met them.
Yeah, and I think obviously some of them are for that reason, that we want to kind of leave. The manager doesn't want to leave any stone unturned, really. He wants to kind of give us as many solutions as possible, and just in case they play a certain shape, that we're more than ready to combat that, really. And I think as any player, you want to go in, you know, if you feel prepared as a player, then I think that breeds, you know, like confidence, really, in a way. And I think you know, you can never, well, from my point of view as a player, like you say, I prefer to be as prepared as possible, and it gives me the best opportunity to perform my job to the best of my ability if I can do that. So yeah, listen, I think the manager is obviously very, very like that. He, like I say, he's very meticulous in what he does, and yeah, like I say, I see it as only a really good thing, and I think the guys do as well. I think if you ask, you know, a lot of the squad, obviously they've been working with him for a lot longer than myself, but even in the short period I've worked with him, you know, I've learned a lot already. So I think that just shows how good a coach he is and a manager. So yeah, like I say, I think any kind of details that you can get from the opposition, from how you're going to play, is going to benefit you.
Do you think those kinds of like instructions, the ability to take that in, is that something that increases as you get more experienced as a player, or is it just from person to person?
No, I agree with you. I think some people obviously take on information differently. I think some maybe visually take it on very well. Some probably need it on the training ground to experience it, to take it on. But yeah, and I think everyone kind of understands the game differently, I suppose, in a way. Like some people are more kind of, you know, their ability, they just get them on the pitch and they flow naturally. Probably myself, I'm kind of more of a studier of the game. I like to kind of read the game and suss the game out and kind of like how I play. So yeah, people take it on differently, but yeah, I definitely think the more games you play and the more experience you get, I think you definitely see certain different situations and understand it a lot clearer because you've probably been involved in it a lot longer and you've seen it in that sense. So yeah, like I say, and I think that's what the manager is very good at. Like I say, he probably knows which players need probably more visual, and some people who need more on the training pitch to actually see it and feel it. So yeah, I think that's probably the main thing.
You've worked with a number of managers over your career. Obviously, you've only been with our head coach Carlos Corberán for around a week. But how does he compare to some of the other guys that you've worked under?
Yeah, listen, I've been very lucky in the sense of I've worked with some fantastic managers in my career. You know, Steve McLaren, you know, Paul Clement, Frank Lampard, Martin O'Neill, Roy Keane, Mick McCarthy. You know, I've been lucky in that sense. So yeah, listen, he's right up there with some of the best coaches I've seen and worked with. So credit to him in the sense of, like, you know, he's obviously very passionate about the game, and when you love something that much, I think it definitely helps you. So he's obviously worked under, you know, he's a fantastic manager, you know, Marcelo Bielsa, and you know, it's like anything. If you play with or work under certain players or managers, you like to try and take what's good from them, because you know, you'd be stupid not to. You know, if that's going to help your game or improve you as a coach or as a manager, when you're working with, you know, these high caliber people, then, you know, in my opinion, you'd be silly not to try and, you know, tap into it and take it and what you think might work for you. And so yeah, like I say, I've been quite lucky in the sense of a lot of these managers have helped raise my game to different levels that potentially might not have hit if I didn't work with these managers. So it definitely gave me a good understanding of tactically and mentally how to prepare and get the best out of myself. So yeah, listen, it's I'm enjoying it. I'm actually loving it. Like I say, I love the game. I'm a student of the game. So, you know, for me, I love breaking down the training session afterwards, you know, watching the video of it and seeing the concepts and why we're doing it, and it explains it very clearly. So yeah, for me, it's great.
It's great, that, Steve, to hear, isn't it? I mean, we've had Richard Stearman in press conferences before, and he's gone on to say how much he's learning under Carlos, and for Richard to be here a week and say and sing praises for Carlos like that, it's only good.
Yeah, I think everyone always talks about how intense he is and how much he clearly sort of loves the game, and he's a big lover of the game and a big lover of coaching, possibly even even more importantly, or just as importantly, and he has his principles and his way of playing that he likes to stick by. He's obviously studied that very hard and honed that sort of as a coach, and as a head coach, and as a youth coach as well, and as an assistant at Leeds. So he's had that experience. Obviously, it's different when you're in your first season as a head coach in the Championship at this sort of level, and I'm sure he would maybe not tell us, but behind closed doors might say there's one or two things he might have done differently, but he's learning as he goes as well. And I think that just having a philosophy in this division, we talked about this before, but just having a philosophy in this division will take you a long way. And in the Championship, it almost doesn't matter what that philosophy is, as long as you have something that is very clear that the players can get behind, and you recruit wisely and bring players through from the academy wisely who fit that system. And I think it's to the benefit of the fans, hopefully, when things are firing. I know it's not been great at the moment because there's nothing more exciting than winning, but that they've got a coach who, when Town are firing, play this lovely attacking style that neutral journalists and opposition journalists usually come away from the John Smiths going, yeah, that was really interesting. Enjoyed watching that. So hopefully we can get back to that.
Yeah, he's not been much luck on his side, obviously with injuries and whatnot as well. In terms of style and philosophies, Gregor, I mean, Carlos said in his press conference yesterday that talking about the change of shape at Bristol City, going to more of a 4-4-2 of late. Why do you think that's occurred, and how has that helped the Robins?
Injuries, simple as that. Bristol City have suffered really badly with injuries, and they've lost a lot of the players who would have played in that Huddersfield game. Andy Vyman's a big loss, someone who Richard will know fairly well, and yeah, he's out for the season with an ACL. As I said, Alfie Mawson's only just come back, but they lost Nathan Baker for most of this season, and yeah, they've just had to adapt and find a new way of playing, really. And yeah, Dean Holden's been playing a sort of 4-4-2 the last few games, with Chris Martin up front and Famara Jeju, and it's got some good results. They've won 4 of the last 6 games across all competitions, so they've got a bit of traction behind them.
I feel like that's almost, sorry, Adam. I just feel like that's almost the process sort of Town are in at the moment with the injuries they've had. I mean, you look at the starting 11 from the reverse fixture, which was only 2.5 months ago, when there's 5 players, 6 in fact, 5 who started, and at least 1, maybe 2 from the bench who are definitely not going to play a part. Tonight in tonight's game. So, Jonathan Hogg is a big miss. Christopher Schindler, obviously the captain, Richard Stearman, was the reason we've had to bring in Richard here, is, because players like that are out. And obviously Josh Garoma has been a huge miss, as has Carol Eighton over the last couple of games, and last longer than that in Josh Garoma's case. And I think it's something we talked about with Carlos a lot, and which is why we use that analogy of the pre-season, is just because when you've had so many injuries as this, we were talking earlier just about Harry Toffolo and the fact that his chance creation rate has dropped off sort of over the last, if you compare it to the first 12 games to the last 12 games. And I was talking to Carlos about it earlier, and he's saying, it's totally different if you're playing as a left back with a left-footed left winger like Rolando Aarons, to playing with a right-footed left winger like Josh Garoma. It affects the way that you move. It maybe means that you sit deeper in this specific instance, rather than bombing on and looking for those overlaps all the time, because the winger isn't coming inside quite so much. And just those little things can just have a big knock-on effect. It's a machine, and it doesn't. If you change one part, you almost need to change all of the other parts a little bit as well. So it's a bit of a process, and obviously having some of those players back would do a massive favour for Town. But it's not like those players have been sold. They are going to be back over the next few weeks, and as Bristol show, it's you can develop those relationships, but it does take a bit of time. Injuries do hurt teams.
Yeah, Richard, you mentioned obviously at Millwall we didn't quite get going in the attacking sense like we wanted to. Having a full week on the grass, how much has that helped just build those relationships and reinforce the patterns of play that we saw really well in December?
No, I agree. I think, we just obviously Millwall kind of come for the draw. Let's be. I think that was pretty clear. Obviously, getting the early goal obviously helped their game plan a lot more. They could sit very, very deep. Like I say, I think they had one action on our goal and it ended up a goal. Apart from that, I can't. Like I say, our keeper didn't have a save to make. So, but yeah, we just needed to probably. When teams sit in a low block, then like you say, you've obviously got to be patient, but also you've got to try and maybe move the ball a little bit quicker from side to side and try and create a little bit more gaps and try and find obviously our more attacking players into them kind of attacking pockets. So like I say, the manager obviously, he's a very intelligent guy and he knows exactly what to work on and that's what we've been working on. Obviously. In the lead up to it and just different things when we face a certain situation, what kind of attack we want to try and create. And like I say, it's been a really good week's training. The lads have trained very well, and I think we're all excited for the game tonight.
Two away wins this season, Steve. Is that kind of creative spark we've been missing over the last kind of few weeks, I would say, but away from home we have had a little bit of an issue, haven't we?
Yeah, the away form is amongst the worst in the division. I don't think there's any sort of hiding from that, and obviously that's something that everyone will be painfully aware of and looking to do something about. I mean, obviously the home form, the flip side of that, has been magnificent generally, particularly over sort of November and December. Obviously it's dipped the last few weeks, but that's obviously a big concern. And Carlos always says he doesn't approach things in terms of home or away. He approaches things based on what the opposition are like. But I think you sort of can't ignore those statistics. I think what might have been missing, and this is where Dwayne Holmes obviously is not going to be playing tonight, Carlos has told us, but longer term Dwayne Holmes might come in because he's willing to take players on. He's willing to carry the ball and try and beat people. We saw Emil Smith Rowe did that as well last season. It was a similar kind of thing where Town had a lot of games where they had a lot of possession but struggled to break teams down because they've got a lot of hard-working midfielders. But I think you need someone who's got a bit of the element of surprise about them and who's willing to take people on and do something a bit different and keep the opposition guessing. And hopefully we'll see more of that. And as you say, particularly away from home, it's strange because last season you would have said Town were a really good team on the counter-attack. That was one of their strengths. But it seems to be that away from home now, where teams are coming at them a bit more, they seem to struggle a bit. I'm not sure quite what that comes down to. But yeah, it needs to change, and hopefully it will start tonight.
Yeah, and then hopefully over time Dwayne will help to fix that as well. Richard, he's someone that obviously really well.
Yeah, obviously I spent a season with Dwayne, or a season and a bit, and he was one of them. Obviously, he had to move away and went to Scunthorpe and started kind of doing well and finding his feet. And I think Frank obviously seen something in him, and kind of, I'm not going to say take a punt because I think that's a bit unfair, but I think he obviously seen enough for him to kind of. He was one of them where the gaffer thought he could fit into our system first and foremost, but I think he thought he could work with him and coach him and really help him. And I think he was obviously one of them that he felt like he could develop. And to be fair to Dwayne, it took him a little bit of time to get up to speed, probably to the level in the sense of the training. Obviously under Frank was very similar. It was very intense, and it was he had to get up to speed very quickly. And I think once Dwayne kind of found his feet, then once he got into the team, he hit a very good period where, as you say there, Stephen, he had that ability to kind of go past someone or, make good runs if he was playing wide into the box. And he ended up being a big part of our squad that season. Obviously, he got to the playoff final. So obviously a great guy. He obviously knows the club as well. He obviously started here, so he's got an affiliation with the club, which I think helps. And like I say, once he gets up to speed, I think the club has signed obviously a very good player.
Exactly. And just finally, ahead of tonight's game, Gregor, where do you see the key elements of this game going? What do Bristol City have to do to beat Huddersfield Town, and vice versa? What do Huddersfield Town have to do to beat Bristol City?
I think a fast start is key. I think first goal always makes such a difference in games, especially in the Championship. So I think whoever gets that, although obviously that made no difference to the game at the John Smiths, but I do think generally if you get the first goal, you've got a much bigger chance. So Bristol City haven't started too many games that quickly. We haven't had too many goals in the first 15 minutes. So I think if they were able to do that with their recent form and results, I'd fancy them quite strongly. But obviously, if you guys get that, I've seen teams like Millwall and other sides have come and won at Ashton Gate this season by basically scoring first and then making it very difficult thereafter. And so yeah, I'd tip that to be maybe a major factor.
I've got good news and bad news for you, because Town do tend to start games really well, but it's holding on to the leads that is the difficult bit for them this season. So, yeah, we'll be interested in that one.
I wanted to ask Richard if Ashton Gate has been a particularly kind or good ground for you, Richard, because I remember I think you came down and maybe won with Derby 2-0, but before that I think you might have lost in a 4-1 defeat.
Yeah, no, yeah, I've had probably mixed. I've had some great ones, not so good ones. So yeah. I mean, listen, I've always enjoyed playing there, because obviously I played a lot of games there for Bristol. So for me to go and play there, I thought it was a great stadium. Obviously now it's been refurbished as well. It makes it an even better stadium. Yeah, the last game obviously I played there was a big game at the time. I think we were both very close in kind of that playoff. I felt like it was a kind of a 6 point. I felt like whoever won that game was obviously going to get into the playoffs, and we managed to win the game, and it kind of gave us a lot of confidence, and we really kicked on from there and won. I think we won most of our games from there on the end of the season to get into the playoffs. So yeah, listen, always a tough game, obviously I know Dean a little bit, but I knew Lee. I played with Lee, but I knew Jono a lot, and obviously watched the team evolve over the years from when they first got into Championship to then becoming a bit more of a contender each year when we played them. And then, like I say, by the end of it, the game against Derby Bristol was always a game that it was two teams fighting at the top end of the league. So yeah, listen, it's gonna be a tough game, but we've got really good players, and yeah, I think we're really excited for the game. That's what, like you guys said, the Championship's about. It's frantic, it's a tough league, and it's settled by fine margins. But yeah, every game's competitive, and we'll go into it, trying to be competitive and get a positive result.
Steve, just final thoughts with you.
Yeah, I think I'd echo sort of both those things. It's obviously difficult when you're coming in off the run of defeats that Town have had, and I think it's going to be another massively challenging game, as they all are in the Championship. And I think, if we always say, and I say this every away game, but any point away from home is a good point. And I think especially sort of the run Town have been on recently, just that would be a very good day's work, and hopefully we could even make it 3.
Fingers crossed. Guys, thank you very much for joining us. Town fans, just for note, the game on iFollow HTFC, all supporters will have to purchase a match pass. Unfortunately, that's down to the EFL's decision. They class the game as a weekend game, not a midweek game, which means that season carders don't get access to watch it on iFollow HTFC, so you have to purchase a match pass. Thank you very much for watching.